various locations across Australia, hosted by Nick Madge. This is The Cheap Pop.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 5 of The Cheap Pop. I am here joined with some very special guests. We got both in the house tonight. There you can see Shane is on your screen. Welcome, Shane. How's it going?
Yeah. Pretty good.
No, it's good to have you.
As good as it can be right now.
Absolutely. And we are also joined by Sammy Madge, who has become a regular as of last week. So welcome, Sam, to the Dynamite review.
I'm back.
Looking good as always in that black shaded layout.
The silhouette is going great. Alrighty, so everybody, you can follow them on Twitter. Handles are on your screen, at SplashyWindow92 and at RealSammyMadge. Both of them will be streaming, and especially Shane will be streaming a lot more in the next couple of weeks, we presume. Shane, when will be streaming next?
Tomorrow.
There you go. There's a bit of a plug. Shane will be
Tomorrow.
streaming tomorrow, so you can tune into his channel tomorrow. And Samantha will be streaming very, very soon as well. We had a big show today. I actually managed to catch the entire thing. I wasn't going to miss it with all the news that was going on. It was massive. And obviously, Tony Khan hyped everything up leading into the show. And we got a banger at that. It was the best show of the year, in my opinion. And we have a lot to get over. So we're not going to waste any time because I've got a lot of things I need to cover. And especially a lot of the segments do drag on. Yeah, as Shane knows, some of the segments do drag on, which we'll go over now.
I have a Bible script in front of me. What Nick's going to be talking about here.
It's a big show, and I guess that's kind of why we do have that. And we did open the show. There was a lot of cool little things that happened at the start, little things I noticed. I'm sure everybody else, they purposely put these in there, which I thought was a really, really cool touch. So we had Wardlow opening the show. He came out with no music. He just came out carrying cutouts of MJF and CM Punk, and he set them up in the ring. This was an hilarious segment. He brought them out. He looked very pissed off, very angry. He handed some papers to Justin Roberts to introduce Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF, and he did not look happy at all handing those papers over. Basically, we're getting the storyline here of MJF not happy with what's going on with MJF. Sorry, did I say MJF? Wardlow is not getting happy with what MJF is doing, and he was obviously upset because he didn't get an entrance like everybody else. Out comes Tully and FTR. They were in suits, all looking like they want to celebrate, that kind of thing. They're celebrating MJF's victory from last week over CM Punk. 2 victories over CM Punk last week. Next out comes Shawn Spears, who also gets a fancy old entrance and comes out with a bottle of wine, all fancy and everything. Wardlow still looking very, very upset. Now, Shawn Spears has this massive card, this big paper card. He hands it to Justin Roberts, and he announced MJF. It was so funny. It was the best thing I've ever seen. It was great. And MJF came out on a palanquin, which I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's one of those things where you put a chair on top of a plank. It's like this big wooden plank thing, and you got a chair on top. And basically, he was like the big star. He came out on top of that with some people holding him up. I'm trying to think of an entrance that it reminded me of, but I can't really think of one. Yeah, very Triple H-like entrance, yeah.
Who was that guy? Who was that Japanese wrestler back in the early 2000s that came in? It was like a Cody Tanaka or something.
Well, like Yokozuna.
Name, but he came out to that. Yeah, him. He came out to one of them.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think I recall something similar to that. They do those sort of things. Yeah, so they went full on with this entrance. It was massive. They gave him the big thing, which is great. He deserves it. MJF is the biggest star in pro wrestling right now. Wardlow, he looked very angry as MJF got this beautiful entrance. Obviously, Wardlow's the reason MJF has had all of this success. We know that, and that's where they're kind of going with it. So MJF randomly comes out. He randomly makes out with this chick on the apron, which I will confirm was his real-life girlfriend, just so everyone knows. But they've obviously made it out. Big celebration. That was his real-life girlfriend. I'm not sure on her name. Twitter straight away went about announcing that, just to clear everything up for everybody.
She hot.
Did you watch it?
No.
It wasn't in the
That's what I'm
highlights.
asking.
Yeah. I'll go with that one. MJF speaks and Wardlow looks super pissed in the background. So it's kind of really cool. You've got MJF speaking, Wardlow just casually in the background behind everybody looking super, super angry. Shut the F up chants did start from the crowd, as you'd expect. And then MJF thanks Sean Spears. So this is where it kind of got a bit awkward. He thanked Sean Spears for all the success that he'd had, even though it was really Wardlow that's given him all the success. And then Wardlow chants erupted in the crowd. Spears gives MJF a new t-shirt. A little bit of a gift as a thank you. He gave him a new t-shirt which said best in the world and you know it, which was a cool little nod to CM Punk and beating him, of course. MJF, this is what everybody has been wanting. I mentioned it last week. MJF is going to be going for the AEW World Championship next, which makes sense. I think that's what we all want. I know Samantha mentioned it last week. That's pretty much the only option for him. So he declared that he wants to become the new world champion. CM Punk then comes out without any music, and Tony Schiavone comes out on stage with him. Punk says, your win in Chicago is as suspect as your spray tan, which was a cool little line. I don't know if it's been used before, but it's very true. It was pretty good. And then out comes Darby Allin and Sting, wielding baseball bats. Obviously, they didn't really do anything. They didn't speak, I don't think, from what I recall. They kind of just stood there. Punk asks for a rematch, which we initially thought he meant with MJF. And then he said he would have liked to have faced Wardlow instead. A rematch from when they had their match a few weeks ago. Punk tells Wardlow he can leave MJF and the crew if he wants. Obviously, Punk's trying to lead him into leaving that crew, MJF's crew. We'll probably get that eventually. Punk then asks for a 3v3, but MJF says no. That's obviously a trios match. But MJF says, this is MJF giving an offer. If Punk can find a tag team partner tonight to face FTR and beat them, he can get another match. So that, basically, we're already going into the show expecting surprises. We're expecting one debut. Put it this way, we're expecting one big shock. And then this just put another teaser out there that we could get another return, maybe. Whatever it is, it was going to be a big shock. So he teased having a tag team partner. I thought that was one of the best segments of the year. I thoroughly enjoyed the whole thing. I would love to see more of that. I just can't wait to see where all this leads. We'll start with Shane. Actually, we'll start with Shane. He hasn't been here for a little bit, so we'll give you a little bit of chance to explain what you think of that. Obviously, you didn't get to watch the show today, but you have obviously had a look at some highlights and read up on everything. So what do you make of that whole segment?
Yeah, with the cardboard cutout, first of all, the cardboard cutout thing reminded me of John Cena in WrestleMania 19 before he was like proper John Cena. That's a cool little touch there. Maybe a little bit of a throwback, and maybe a whatever. You can probably point fun at WWE for that, possibly, for doing a segment like that. How long did the segment actually go for? That's what I'm...
The segment itself probably took up about 15 minutes. It was a pretty... maybe 10 minutes. It sounds longer than what it actually took up. It was a lot quicker than it seemed. I don't think they had a commercial break during it, like WWE normally does. So that was a good thing. Probably about 15 minutes total.
One thing I do like more about AEW than WWE is the freedom these guys and girls and even the crowd get with chanting "shut the F up" without being censored out or whatever. That's incredible. Yeah, it's so cool to see this sort of stuff happening. So other than that, if I actually watched it, I'd have more to talk about. But yeah, that's quite an opening segment.
Yeah, Sam, what about you? What did you think?
Just, you said it was one of the best segments that you've seen for a while. To me, that's a standard MJF segment.
True.
He's good all the time. Every time he comes out, it's a whole production. I love watching him. He's the reason I watch the show. And that's all I have to say. Him going for the title is great, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Him coming out with the Triple H like entrance was great. It just shows how big he is in there. Like, for him to have his own entrance like that shows how like how big he is in the company.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a great segment.
He's
Absolutely.
also very up himself too, though.
Which works
Which
good.
is great.
That's what makes him good.
It's fantastic. It's awesome for ratings and whatever.
Because I'm sure he really
I
is.
don't know if you guys have seen. I don't know if you guys have seen, but have you actually seen MJF do like meet and greets and all that stuff?
He stays in
Yeah.
character. Mhm.
It's fucking
It's great.
hilarious. Some of the shit he comes out with.
He's good. Yeah, no, that was really, really good
and it's
stuff.
cool. And like to not break kayfabe
Mhm.
or whatever, however you say
Yeah,
it, to the extent that he goes, it's kind of Undertaker-ish
yeah.
without, staying in character and whatever else.
Mm.
But he just takes it to a whole new level. Just being an absolute asshole, and it's fucking amazing.
Well, that's why he's so
Absolutely
good.
awesome.
Yeah. No, really, really awesome stuff. That was one of my favorite segments of the year. I just think they went even more. I know his segments are always good. They just went that little bit extra. I just thought it was hilarious. Mostly, they're always funny, but this was just next level. I think Justin Roberts and what he was saying and the way he was saying it, that got me. Like, I was sitting there watching it at work and I'm thinking, they're probably wondering why the hell I'm laughing at nothing. And it's just some guy talking on screen. I'm like, you watch MJF and watch pro wrestling, you'll laugh. That was good stuff. No, I thought that was brilliant. So we followed that up with a backstage segment. We had Andrade, who was backstage with Sting and Darby Allin. Darby says he wants to become the next TNT champion. Obviously, wants to become the TNT champion again. Andrade tells him that you will work for me, and we have something in common. And Andrade says he will be the next TNT champion. So they were kind of teasing something there. Maybe they'll have a match down the road. I don't know if the winner of the ladder match at Revolution, the pay-per-view, is going to have a title match. I don't know what the go is there. Maybe that'll lead to something. But that was a pretty quick, short segment. Nothing really to touch up on there, I don't think. Our first match. Shane, did you have something to say? Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
Question, teacher. The TNT title, is that TNA related at all?
No, that's just the mid-card title. So
Did it used to be?
no. So AEW started on TNT.
So what?
On the TV
Right.
program, like on the channel TNT.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep,
Right.
that's the mid-card. That's like their middle, the male side, it's their mid-card title. Like their Intercontinental title, basically. Yeah.
Yep.
And then they've got the TBS. So at Dynamite, this show's moved to TBS, which is obviously a big company over in America. They've now got a TBS title, but that's the women's mid-card title. So they've got one for each show because Rampage is still on TNT. So that's... I think they can still defend the titles on either show, I'm presuming. I don't know if they have. I haven't really taken notice of that. But yeah, it's just mid-card title, basically. So our first match, Blade from the Hardy family office comes out. Now, something happened during this match. Sam, I don't know if you noticed this. I will mention it in a minute. Actually, you probably won't know because it's something that happened in the WWE. That was a brilliant touch. And I didn't notice it first. I'm so glad somebody on Twitter mentioned it after the show. Basically, we had the Blade come out. He was taking on Wardlow from, obviously, MJF's crew. And Sean Spears was accompanying Wardlow to the ring. Now, Wardlow has a 41-7 record, which is super impressive in All Elite Wrestling. That's probably one of the best records they've got going at the moment, I would say. So we knew who was winning this match. They've been pushing Wardlow like crazy, which I think is brilliant. He deserves it. He's been really good. Wardlow tells Sean Spears to stay away and let him fight for himself. This is when they were on the outside of the ring. Wardlow was dominating most of the match. Blade had a bit of a comeback, that kind of thing. So Wardlow was staring at Sean Spears, not happy that he was distracting him. So Wardlow was starting to get a little bit annoyed by his own manager there. Now Wardlow looked like he had a left leg injury. For a second there, I thought it was legit. He was limping a lot. Then he delivered a vertical suplex, and he forgot to sell the injury for the rest of the match. Anyway, that happens a lot. It's so easy to forget. I've seen it happen every week on every show. I don't blame him for doing it. I just thought it was a funny little thing. He hit the suplex. When he had him up for the vertical suplex, he's like, wouldn't your leg be sore? So I just thought that was a little funny thing.
Instant pain relief.
Yeah.
Instant pain relief. That's what
Yeah,
it is.
no, that's unfortunate. I thought the way he was selling it was really good because I actually thought it was a legit injury before he stopped selling it. Anyway, I get it. It happens. I had no issue with it. That's just a normal thing. I just thought I'd put it out there that you'll see that a lot happening. Oh, Donald Quizman has entered the chat calling us the Three Amigos. How's it going, Donald? What's happening? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the Cheap Pop. So Wardlow wins after four power bombs in a row. He hit one. The crowd begged for more. He hit 2, and then he hit 2 more really quickly. He basically destroyed the Blade at that point. And then afterwards, now Sean Spears...
Ref Voldemort, I was going to say Ref Voldemort counted a 1, 2, 3 and he won. Alright, go on.
Oh my god, that's the best thing. Oh, Ref Voldemort. Wow, that is brilliant.
Ref Voldemort. Does he actually look like Voldemort, does he?
Yeah. So afterwards, Sean Spears attacks Blade with a chair, and basically stealing Wardlow's spotlight, which he's been doing a lot. That's sort of something that, and you could visibly see Wardlow was pissed off. They're continuing with that theme. Now, we'll go back to what I said earlier. I forgot to mention Matt Hardy was ringside. Obviously, Hardy family office. I think it was this match. Maybe it was later, actually. I'm starting to... Sorry, no, that was later. So that's why I was bringing it up earlier. I was a bit confused. I'm like, I don't think he came out this early. No, it was just Wardlow out there on his own. But yeah, I'll mention that. It has something to do with Matt Hardy. I think you can probably see where I'm going with this, but we'll talk it. Donald Quizman said Russell Knox is over Voldemort, in other words. So, but pretty obvious match. Sam, what did you make of that? That was a pretty expected thing, and they're continuing the feud with Wardlow, obviously.
Look, you like Wardlow, but I don't really like him, to be honest.
Big man.
I like people that can talk and stuff. So I don't know where they're going to go with him. Like, I can't imagine him talking unless he has a manager.
Yeah.
The Blade, worst in the company.
Whoa. Brutal.
Old. He's old and not interesting.
Big statement.
That's brutal. Sam.
In my opinion.
That's not nice.
Old and not interesting.
I like him.
Go for it, Sam. Fucking rip into him. Let's just do it.
He's one of those guys that are there just to build people over. He's not going to, I don't think he'll go too far. I thought he was great being in the tag team. him and Butcher, I thought that was a fine thing. But yeah, Wardlow, I actually didn't really like him at first. I thought he was going to be, like Sam said, one of those guys that just can't get over because he can't talk. The crowd's kind of getting on his side. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Shane, I don't know how much of Wardlow you've seen. Obviously, you know the backstory now that he's pissed off with MJF. They're obviously leading towards that in the future somewhere. Woody, do you have any take on this?
I'm just happy that Voldemort was there.
Fair enough. The Lord made an appearance. Maybe he'll say Avada Kedavra to Wardlow anyway to show up again. Sam will be happy with that one. All right, we'll move on to the next thing, which was a promo package. Now, this got me super pumped. Penta Dark, which is... I have never really seen... I don't know if he's had this alter ego before or a version of Pentagon Jr. Apparently, it's a more dark side of Penta. It was amazing, and I can't wait to see how this turns out or what it ends up being, that kind of thing. I've got no idea what it's going to look like. But Penta was shown in a promo. It was like an Undertaker-style promo or a Malachi Black-style promo. Very dark.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, like somewhere. They filmed it somewhere away, I presume. And it was actually about Malachi Black. So it's really exciting to see what they're going to do with that. I did note down here, it was, very dark and a grim-style promo, which, looking forward to that. We won't talk about it too much. It's just a promo. We'll see where that leads in the coming weeks. Now, we had a massive... Again, this is surprising. AEW having 2 massive segments in the space of the first hour. That is very rare. That doesn't happen too often. So, it was an Inner Circle team meeting. They advertised this last week for this week. This was crazy. I didn't think they were going to break up the Inner Circle this soon. It hasn't happened yet fully, but it's looking that way. Something's going to happen eventually. Obviously, we had the Inner Circle. Chris Jericho. Now, the whole Inner Circle didn't come out. Chris Jericho came out with Hager and Sammy Guevara. And then Santana and Ortiz came out afterwards separately. Now, I've got a lot of quotes in here because this is a big segment, and it was... some of the things I was saying was awesome stuff. Jericho tells Santana and Ortiz what they did was disrespectful. Santana tells Jericho that this is enough of all of this bullshit that's been happening lately. And then I think it was Santana again, said Chris Jericho only cares about one person. Chris Jericho. Which, if you know Chris Jericho's career, you know that's what he always thinks. Always Chris Jericho, but that's what makes him so good. They think Chris Jericho is the problem. They think Chris is stopping them from winning the tag team titles. Obviously, they've been pushing for them, and they haven't been able to win them, so they're blaming him for it. They said, we came out here to tell Jericho that they are done playing second fiddle to him. And then you've had Santana, like Chris was about to start talking, and then Santana even went as far as saying, "Don't raise that mic because I ain't finished." And you can picture him, the way he would have said that. It was pretty full on, you know, like, and these guys have been so close for the last 3 years that probably one of the biggest factions in a long, long time. So it's, when you hear them saying all this, it's a very bit of a surprise. And then you got Santana also saying, "You stood in our way." Sorry, I'm just going to pause here. We've got Donald Quizman coming in with another comment. "My missus doesn't like anyone other than MJF. You are not wrong there, Donald." Not wrong. Oh, yeah, and CM Punk on the side. That's your favourite.
Can you also get the real Sammy Madge a camera so we can see that face?
Exactly. We don't need no more silhouettes around here.
I can just see Sam going like this.
No. So we had Jericho now. He grabbed the mic and they finally let him talk. He says, "You remind me of my good friend Eddie Guerrero."
Oh, no.
Yeah, he said it in a good way. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he mentioned something just about how he's always hyped up and like always excited to do this. Something along those lines. Sorry, Donald Quizman's come in with another comment. "You have dropped CM Punk like a bag off." With a poop emoji. It's a good one, Donald. It's a good one. So,
Jerry, what happened to the CM Punk phase when he came back and all that? What happened?
Nothing really.
For me?
Yeah, for you.
No, he's still up there, but MJF he's just on another level.
Mm-hmm. Modern day CM Punk, I guess.
Yeah,
pretty much.
True.
Good on the mic, good in the ring. Yeah. So we had Jericho.
Good in meet and greets too.
Meet and greets, yeah. So Jericho blaming Eddie Kingston for what they did. So obviously Santana Ortiz and Eddie Kingston had a bit of it was like a month ago, maybe a little bit less than that. They came back, blah, blah, blah. That all happened. So Eddie Kingston got involved. He wasn't in this segment at all. Jericho says he is the influencer in AEW. Jericho says that they lost to the Young Bucks, which was not Jericho's fault, obviously referring to Santana Ortiz not getting the job done for the titles. Jericho said, "I brought you into the inner circle and I can kick you out as well," teasing that he might kick them out of the inner circle. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, WWE, when they had the Festival of Friendship and Jericho and Owens, I didn't want them to break that up. I've got a similar vibe here. It's going to be weird when it does happen. Jericho keeps talking. He's like, "Maybe I invited the wrong 2 members of LAX to join," which was a pretty, this next line got this was amazing. If anybody knows LAX and what used to happen with Impact and TNA and all that. "Hey Jake, have you got Homicide and Hernandez's," and he was about to say phone number, referring to the other members of LAX, which would have been hilarious if he kept going. But the way Santana he went to go and grab Jericho, he got very angry with him. And then Jericho, because Sammy Guevara tried to break up that interaction, Jericho told Sammy to shut up as he tried to intervene. So now you got Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager who were on the side. They're kind of leaning on Jericho's side. And then he tells Sammy to shut up. So Jericho's acting like the big dog again, telling him to shut up. And then Sammy looks visually pissed off, annoyed, probably more frustrated than anything. And then Sammy Guevara speaks. He says, "Save it, Chris. But I love you guys. You're my family. Chris, I got to be honest with you. I want to be the greatest champion in history. But this crap isn't going to help it." Sammy says if they can't figure this shit out, he is out of the inner circle. And then he walks away. So Sammy says that. He walks up the ramp very, very upset, which makes sense. And I actually think Sammy probably should separate at the moment. I think he's too good to be in a group now. Ortiz then says Eddie is a brother to us, referring to Eddie Kingston, is a brother to us also. "Where we come from, we deal with it by fighting, not talking." He didn't say that. He verbally done some cues with his hands, but that's basically what he was saying. Next week, Santana and Ortiz versus Jericho and Hager to settle this once and for all. Jericho says, "I didn't want it to come down to this, but you will get a fight." And then I'm pretty sure it was Jericho. He said attendance is mandatory next week, which confirms that match is on. This segment, it's hard to describe it in words, how good it was. It came across very intense. If you've been following the Inner Circle for the last 3 years, this was some good stuff. And it just promote, like it gives some longevity to what's going to happen the next few weeks. I'll start with Sam, just because she watched the entire show as well. I just want to get your thoughts on it. What did you make of that whole segment? I've actually been really keen to hear your thoughts on that segment.
I didn't like it.
Cool. Okay, I had a feeling.
Because
Why's that?
I don't like Santana and Ortiz. That's why.
You don't like them?
I'm not a fan of them. No, I don't like them at all. I haven't
Whoa.
liked them since the start of AEW till now. Nothing's changed.
Sure, hope you would I say they're my favourite tag team. No, maybe not my favourite, but they're good. I think they're good.
And also, Hager is the Dolph Ziggler of AEW.
Yeah.
Like, this guy came from over there.
I'll agree with that one.
He looks the same as he did over there. He acts the same as he did over there. Nothing's changed with the guy.
He just doesn't we the people
And
anymore.
just the best thing going on in that area there was Chris Jericho and Sammy.
Yeah, I like that.
That's it. That's just, yeah.
Donald's come in. He said it's
they
good
did have some
storytelling.
good Yeah, like they had some good things to say, Santana and Ortiz, but I just don't like. It's hard to like a segment when you don't like the people.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I really like them, but yeah, no, that's understandable. Like, there's always going to be favourites and no favourites. I don't know. They've got a long way to go. I will admit they're still not quite there, but we'll see what happens. Donald's come in and said, "Told you she hates everyone." That's true. MJF and CM Punk only, so you'll come to get used to this. But that's okay.
Sam only watches it for MJF.
Yeah, pretty much. Shane, speaking of not MJF, but speaking of the segment, what are your thoughts on it?
From what I'm reading, I actually didn't mind it. For those of you who don't know, I'm a massive Chris Jericho fan. I love Chris Jericho from his early days back in Japan and ECW and whatever else. He's always been able to talk.
Yep.
And we learnt that from WCW as well. I think he got just that little bit more of freedom when he was at WCW. And then obviously they just threw him to the absolute curve and he came to WWE. And since then, got his charisma and all that on the mic is just absolutely awesome. There is one part that I did not like, and that is, for me, regardless of what company you're in, names like Eddie Guerrero shouldn't be mentioned on a show. Even though Jericho said it, now Jericho and Eddie were obviously super close, but for them to mention Guerrero, I didn't like that too much. For everything else, the way that they sort of came up with this part here, where is it? Hang on, let me just have a look real quick. Saying that he wants to be the greatest champion of all time and whatever else. It sounded like that whole conversation part there sounded like they were like 12-year-olds, like brother and brother, kind of like, "Oh, I've been the greatest WWE champion of all time, and you don't tell me what to do," and all this stuff.
I can see what you meant there
it
too.
Sounded like it just sounded like a family fight at the dinner table, pretty much. So, pretty funny, but yeah, I didn't mind it. From what you just seen and what I'm seeing now, I didn't mind it at all. There was just that one Eddie Guerrero part that's just bothering me.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's fair enough. He did say it in a good, positive thing, but it could have come across as negative as well, the way he kind of said it. So, yeah, they probably could have kept it out, I think.
I would have liked to see. I'd like to see the reaction of the crowd when his name got mentioned.
Pretty positive.
It actually wasn't that big.
Very positive. It wasn't a massive pop. So they were actually very happy.
Oh no, he said Eddie, or
no, it was more like they started chanting Eddie. It was more like a happy thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was it was a massive chant, but they started chanting Eddie. It was kind of more like a positive thing because I think he said it in a positive note. He wasn't using him as a negative thing, to an extent.
Right.
Yeah, but again, they didn't fully need to bring Eddie into it, so I can kind of understand where you're coming from there. Next was a big segment. This was not where we expected our first return. Well, not return. Our first Forbidden Door. Actually, this was the only Forbidden Door showing tonight. So Tony Khan made a mistake and he came out on Twitter after the show. He did sign a free agent, somebody that was released from WWE, And the free agent he was describing as a Forbidden Door entry, which does not actually count as a Forbidden Door. So he ended up bringing in 2 surprises tonight to make up for it. So he did bring in a Forbidden Door entry, which happened in this next segment. We had a backstage segment. We had the Young Bucks. There was an announcement saying the Young Bucks we're going to take on Roppongi Vice on Rampage, which was announced. So we cut backstage. Adam Cole and the Young Bucks actually attack Roppongi Vice backstage with the BTE trigger. And then out of nowhere, I don't know if this was how late it was brought up. Tony Khan said he only just asked him this past weekend to show up. But out of nowhere, out comes New Japan Pro Wrestling's Jay White. Switchblade comes out of nowhere and helps Adam Cole and co. attack Roppongi. So that was a bit of a surprise. I thought that was pretty good, and it was kind of needed because he did make the mistake when he said it was a Forbidden Door entry that you can't count a free agent as that, because when you break the Forbidden Door, you're coming from another company while you're still working for them and then showing up in another. So Jay White does fit that description. He's working for New Japan. He's obviously not actually signed for AEW. So I thought that made sense. We've got Adam coming into the chat. How's it going, Adam? Jay White, can't wait to see him wrestle. I agree. There's going to be some good matches. Sam, you probably haven't seen too much of Jay White. What did you make of the segment? Have you had a look at anything about Jay White since he showed up?
No, I didn't actually.
Okay.
I read some things on Twitter, but
yep.
I don't know much about him, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. He's obviously from New Japan, which, that's the thing. I think there was a lot of hype built up for who was showing up that some people were going to end up being disappointed. I'm actually happy with who it ends up being, but the way Tony did hype it up, it sounded like it was going to be like a John Cena. So I probably got hyped up a little bit too much, but it was still awesome. Shane, have you seen much about Jay White? I'm asking this honestly because I know there's going to be wrestling fans out there who watch WWE, AEW, and maybe don't know what's happening in New Japan or who's from New Japan. Have you seen anything about Jay White?
No, and I'm one to actually keep up with the New Japan Pro Wrestling organization every now and again, but I haven't seen or heard anything recently. Maybe just because I'm inactive on Twitter for a while.
No, that's all right.
But no, I will take from what Adam has said in the comments. It'd be good to see him come in and wrestle as well. Learn, be able to show off his craft and whatever else on a big stage, and good.
Yeah, no, he's a big star. He's massive in New Japan. He's one of the biggest stars in the world at the moment. So in terms of, I guess he's like when WWE signed AJ Styles, being the hottest free agent, it's got similar vibes here from, obviously, AJ was at Impact, Jay White's New Japan, and Jay White's already broken the Forbidden Door the last 2 months. He's been showing up at Impact every now and then, helping them out a little bit as well, which is really cool. There was obviously rumors that it could have been Okada or Will Ospreay maybe, but ended up, and we weren't expecting this return, this, I guess, surprise showing. It wasn't supposed to happen. So that was a last minute thing for Tony to save face, really, in terms of the Forbidden Door thing that he's been teasing. So that was a cool thing. There'll be more on that on Rampage, I presume. Now, here comes the next surprise. We've got our second match, and this is where the thing I was talking about Matt Hardy earlier. So our second match, and we've got Isaiah Cassidy who comes out, and then we go to commercial preparing for our big surprise wrestler who's supposedly a free agent and showing up for the first time in AEW. This match will be a qualifier, so the winner will advance to the ladder match at Revolution, the face of the Revolution ladder match. Out comes Limitless Keith Lee, who was probably out of all of the release stars, besides Samoa Joe, probably the biggest name. I guess Johnny Gargano you can throw up there as well. But Keith Lee was all over Twitter. Everybody pretty much knew it was going to be him. Well, everybody just presumed it was either going to be him, Gargano, or Samoa Joe. It was going to be one of the three. Ends up, it's Keith Lee. He's facing Isaiah Cassidy. I really like his theme song. Main roster WWE butchered it. Nothing will ever beat his NXT theme song. It was the greatest theme song, probably out of any wrestler that was on NXT at the time. But anyway, he's got a good song. He comes out. Keith Lee dominates the match. Now, I've added this in here. Matt Hardy, because Keith Lee was dominating so much, and Matt Hardy was obviously accompanying Isaiah Cassidy to the ring, Matt Hardy left mid-match. Now, Jeff Hardy, when this whole drug thing happened, and I don't know if you know about how he got released from WWE, it was a house show, a WWE house show, one of the ones that they run that's not on television. He was apparently, according to everybody, he looked very like in a drunken state, as if he'd been, taking drugs, that sort of thing, etc. And he apparently walked out through the crowd and left halfway through a match. So this was this is when he, like a few weeks before he got released by WWE. That's what Jeff Hardy did in the WWE house show. He left mid-match because, and all the crowd thought, and this is where all the reports started, that he was back on the drugs, etc. Matt Hardy now, during this match, left halfway. Basically,
mid-match.
An exact nod.
It's a hint.
At that.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I didn't notice at first. It didn't click to me.
Something came up the other day, today, in my feed of the Sting and Jeff Hardy incident that happened in 2012.
Yes.
When Jeff came to the ring totally intoxicated and Eric Bischoff had to intervene. So that's...
he is
interesting.
He is what... Well, I'll touch on it after this. We'll go through the match first, but I'll touch on the whole Jeff Hardy thing and where WWE screwed up. But we'll get to that in a minute. So the match itself, Keith Lee dominates. Matt leaves mid-match. Clear nod that Jeff Hardy's coming to AEW. It's inevitable. It's just, we've got to wait for his 90 days to finish his clause. Has to happen. Isaiah Cassidy hit a corkscrew over the top rope when Keith Lee was on the outside. Keith Lee was stunned. He came back inside the ring. Keith Lee hits his big power slam finisher. I forget the name of it. It's been that long since I've seen him wrestle because WWE never used him. Hits his finisher. Obviously wins the match 1-2-3 and advances to the Revolution ladder match. Quen attacked Lee afterwards, threw him to the outside of the ring. Lee catches a flying Cassidy who jumped out of the ring. And then Quen followed Cassidy, also jumped out of the ring. This was after the match. Lee caught him as well, and he powerbombed him on top of Cassidy, who was laying on the ground. That was an awesome way to make Keith Lee look like a beast. Definitely a lot better than what WWE did with Keith Lee. Now, Sam, I don't know how much NXT you watch. I don't know if you've seen Keith Lee wrestle.
A bit of stuff to say about this.
Absolutely, go for it.
I have while he was wrestling, the leapfrog I thought was amazing, and I was wondering how old he was. I thought he was in his 40s. He's only 37, so I was like, wow, like for a 37-year-old, he looks older.
Yep.
But anyway, people seem to love him. I had a prediction as well. I just thought that maybe, people will think that he'll verse Adam Cole, right? Because they've got history from NXT. Mm-hmm. But I actually think him versus Bryan Danielson would be great. I think it's like a missed opportunity from WWE, and now we'll get to probably see it on AEW.
Yeah.
And Danielson won't have to carry him. They'll both just make each other look beasts. So I think that would be a great matchup, and that's my prediction.
Yeah, that's a very good prediction. I would love to see that. Keith Lee is one of the best. For the size of the man, he's one of the most athletic, one of the best wrestlers in the world at the moment. It's crazy how good he is for his size. Some of the matches he had in NXT were phenomenal. I don't know, did you catch any of his matches in NXT, Shane, by any chance? Or did you see anything about Keith when he was in
I somewhat did, but God, it's been so long since I've watched NXT that everything's just a mind blank at the moment. But I've heard Keith Lee is a phenomenal athlete, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It just shows you that you don't have to have the big bodybuilder physique to be good at what you do. And he, even in WWE, when he actually had time on TV, he was even good then. So it's good to see that now he's going to actually get some time to actually show off a bit of his craft, which is great. And I'm just looking at the comments now from Adam.
Yes.
Can't believe WWE let Keith Lee go. WWE is going to regret this one.
Big time.
I can totally agree with what Adam's saying, and it's just not with Keith Lee as well. That's with a lot of people. Daniel Bryan's and CM Punk somewhat. There's probably a couple others that I can't really think of right now, but they have a lot of people go, and AEW has just scooped them from under their toes. And some of the things that AEW are doing with these superstars that haven't been on TV as much is awesome. So massive hats off to AEW for that. And I really hope that that he can get a really good go in AEW.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sorry, you were going to say something there?
I was just gonna agree with like the things that AEW do is just another level. Like you're talking about the Matt Hardy thing. What were you gonna touch on that as well? Because
I was gonna just touch on the whole Jeff Hardy
storytelling.
thing. Yeah, just adding that thing.
Like, you know how he walked out.
Yeah.
Like they don't have to add that.
No,
But
that's
they
smart.
add that, and then it makes you think, it makes you talk, it makes Twitter talk, it brings conversation out, and that's so big. Like they need that, and that's what WWE is missing out on.
Big time. No,
100%. I totally agree with Sam. Yeah.
100%. No, I don't know how WWE can stuff Keith Lee up. He was in the Royal Rumble the year Brock Lesnar got eliminated. Remember when he was up there for the first 11 people? The year before Rona. What was it, 2020? Yeah, 2020 Royal Rumble. Yeah, you literally, you had Keith Lee come out. The crowd popped. That he was the most over person in the Rumble. And Survivor Series the year before, I think you had him and Roman Reigns, obviously in the... What was it? They were the last two people in the Survivor Series traditional 5-on-5 match. That was the biggest thing going at the time. He got the biggest reaction I've seen on WWE TV in so long. I don't get how they stuffed that up. Hopefully...
He can't sell product for them. That's what
I guess, yeah. WWE's just got it. They need a change.
Well, yeah, I can agree with that, Sam. As well as this, they only build who they want to build in WWE. They don't build talent. They want to build who they want to build.
Yeah.
Let's just be thankful that Roman is getting the push that he's getting right now. But when you look at people that needed that push or should have deserved that push and are now no longer there, been released or whatever, it's just absolute waste in my eyes.
Yeah, it's not very good at all. I mean, now this Jeff Hardy thing, this is another problem with WWE. They released him on the basis that he was back drinking and doing whatever he used to do. That's why they released him. Apparently he had a drug test and failed it. Apparently. So he left. Obviously rumors started swirling that All Elite Wrestling was going to sign him. He has a 90-day no-compete clause. Then official reports come out that about a week ago or a week and a half ago, WWE called Jeff Hardy, asked him to come back, re-sign a new contract, and they offered him a place in the WWE Hall of Fame. He rejected it. Because the official documents came out that WWE lied about his test and he did turn back a negative result. He wasn't on drugs. And that was official. This is all official reports. There's no speculation. This has officially come out that this is what happened. He turned down the Hall of Fame. And then Matt, I think he's come out and he said he wants to finish his career wherever he goes next, which it's a 99.9% chance it's going to be teaming with Matt Hardy for the rest of his career at All Elite Wrestling, which could be a few more years.
Are they just throwing anyone in the Hall of Fame at this point?
Yeah. Like he deserves it, but like not yet.
I think the only reason why Jeff would have denied the opportunity to go in the Hall of Fame is because, to be honest, I don't think his singles career was any good.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as the team, obviously.
It wasn't the best. When he was WWE champion, it's still WWE didn't market it like he was in some sense. I reckon the only way that Jeff would actually go into the Hall of Fame would be with Matt as the Hardy Boys, 100%.
Yeah, that's going to be it. Yeah, which is smart from him to turn it down because he knows he's going to finish his career now doing proper pro wrestling with Matt Hardy. Then they'll both get inducted into the Hall of Fame when their career's over, which is smart. Just do what you can do now, finish your career properly, then get inducted. So anyway, that's what's eventually going to happen. I thought I'd just touch on that in case anybody wasn't caught up with the whole drama that happened there. Jeff Hardy will be in All Elite Wrestling in 2 months. It's a guarantee. Donald Quizman's come into the chat. Splashy window for WWE Hall of Fame 2022. And we've also got Adam coming in. A chance of Broken, Matt Hardy, and Brother Nero coming back. I wouldn't mind one more run with that happening again. I wouldn't mind seeing
Totally
that.
agree with Donald there.
Yeah. Them two, both as the Broken and Nero gimmicks, were amazing. I hope we get to see it again. All right, let's move on to the next segment because we're going to run out of time eventually. We have a recap. Yeah, well, it was a recap at the back. We had Mercedes. We didn't see anything. It was just a video recap of Mercedes Martinez, Britt Baker, and Thunder Rosa. Next week, we're going to have Mercedes Martinez versus Thunder Rosa in a no DQ match. Holy shit, this is going to be good. Now, Mercedes Martinez was one of the best independent wrestlers, women's wrestlers in the world. And her and Thunder Rosa is the most over woman, probably, besides Britt Baker, in the women's division. At least, was for a while there. That this could be really, really good. So just keep your eye out on that one next week. It's going to be a really good one to watch. Sammy Guevara came out. This was just for the commercial. Showed off his cards and stuff. I thought it was going to be a match or a segment. It was nothing. So I thought I'd add that in there. Shane, I don't know if you've seen it. I highly recommend watching when Guevara comes out with his cards. It's pretty funny. Very funny stuff to watch. All right, we'll go to our next match. It's hilarious. They always do it before they go to a commercial. We had FTR come out ready for the match. Obviously, they had the surprise match against Punk and a partner of his choosing. Little note on Twitter, CM Punk came out after the earlier segment when he said this match is happening later tonight. He sent out 2 tweets to tease the shit out of the fans. First, he tagged Danhausen and said, "Hey Danhausen, what are you doing later?" Basically teasing everybody that he's going to pick Danhausen as his partner. 5 minutes later, he tagged Samoa Joe and asked Samoa Joe, "Are you in the country?" Spoiler, it's neither of them.
That's so good.
We got something. So I still can't believe this match happened. This is like a dream match. Pretty much.
Dream team.
I never thought I would see this ever in my life. We had CM Punk come out, and it turns out his partner was none other than Jon Moxley.
Oh, yeah.
Coolest part of the match.
That's a good tag team right there.
That is a dream team. Like, they had obviously a few things with the Shield back in the day. There was, before Punk left, it was pretty close to when Punk left. There was a few little things with the Shield. So that was a cool little nod. They hit a Doomsday Device, which was amazing. Never thought I'd ever see that in my life, that they would hit it. And I think the commentator said the exact same thing. They won by a stereo DDT, Dirty Deeds. I don't know if he still calls it Dirty Deeds in AEW. I don't think so. And obviously the GTS. So they won the match. You saw MJF on the video backstage pissed off because this means CM Punk now gets a rematch against MJF. We don't know when. I didn't want to see it again. Not a fan that it's happening, but it is what it is. Maybe it won't be a full match. Maybe it'll end in a DQ or something. Maybe it'll lead to something else. I know, Sam, you clearly said it last week you don't want to see it again, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that match happening again.
My thoughts on...
Well, give me your thoughts on this.
Actual match that happened.
Give me the thoughts on your match, and then your thoughts on what it's going to lead to.
Okay, because this match was the best match I've seen in a long time, and you know why? It was because Moxley's in it. Like, any match that he's in, if you notice, when he has a match, it's the longest match of the night.
Yeah.
And he does that because his endurance, and he just puts in 150% every time he goes out, and I could watch him, that's the only match I'll watch the whole match, if you get what I mean. Because you know me, I'll fast forward the matches. That's the only match I'll watch is if he's in it. Okay. Because he's just so good. And he just puts in so much effort, and he comes out with such an ego and stuff. But
yeah,
I hate people that come out with an ego, except for MJF. But I hate people that come out with an ego. Well, that's the difference actually between him and MJF. MJF comes out with the ego, but not as good as a wrestler as Moxley.
Yeah, for sure.
So Moxley's just got the whole package, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, that match was good. And then what was the other question?
Well, what do you think it's going to lead to? Last week you said, no, I don't want CM Punk and MJF again. We're getting it again. We don't know when.
Oh, yeah.
But we're getting it again.
Yeah, I think it's just going to lead to something with Wardlow. I don't think it's going to be anything exciting about them two having a match. I think it's going to be all about Wardlow and what he does. I think that's all it is.
It has to be. If they want to make sure that they do the right thing with it, it has to lead to that. Obviously, Shane, you've seen it's a big match. You're a big fan of Jon Moxley?
I love Jon Moxley. Love Jon Moxley. From what he done in WWE to even now, one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, both in ring, on the mic, whatever. He's just solid, absolutely solid. And the dream team, obviously, that was. You could only dream of that. Obviously, that's why it's called Dream Match. You can only dream of that sort of stuff. And I got a funny feeling that might actually turn into like a permanent tag team, possibly, maybe.
Well, maybe.
You never know. Possibly they could run for the top tag team titles at some point. I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But with the CM Punk and MJF situation, it's turning into like a Triple H and Shawn Michaels kind of situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they'd not fight for a couple of years, then they'd fight again, and then they'd join. Ooh, that could be interesting. They could join each other. That'd be interesting. But
maybe.
Yeah, no, it's just very, very Triple H and HBK vibes with what Punk and MJF have got going.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got Donald who's come in with a very, very good comment. Moxley is the modern day Stone Cold. And I do have to agree with that. He's similar vibe. I would say that's, very good comparison. If we're going to make comparisons to past wrestlers, which I normally don't like doing, it's probably one of the more true ones. That's for sure. We'll move on to what's next and the next matchup, which I think, this is kind of when we got to the matches, and I think AEW does really well with the women. I think they've been building them up really well. We had Jade Cargill, who defended the TBS, I think it was for the title, I'm pretty sure it was, the TBS Championship, against AQA, which this is where Tony Khan is a genius. He doesn't sign people to long-term contracts. He will bring people in from other companies. He will give them a handshake deal. He'll say, I'll pay you this much. You're going to wrestle tonight. AQA, I don't know, maybe she has signed now, but she was with NXT. She didn't really get any showing on NXT at all. She was just one of those people that was backstage that never got to go. Everybody, I saw all the tweets. This was about 7 minutes long. Everybody loved what she did, and she looked really good against Jade Cargill. Pretty solid for what was always going to be a Cargill title defense. 7-minute match. Jade retains the title. Sam, did you catch much of that match? Because I thought AQA, for her first ever showing, was pretty impressive.
It was impressive, but me and the women on AEW, we don't really meet eye to eye. So it wasn't that interesting for me to watch it.
Okay.
But yeah, she did look good.
Fair enough. Shayna, any opinions on that one?
No, not really. The only thing I will comment on is that I like the it's got nothing to do with that part of the show.
Yeah.
I like how when you look at AEW's history with the women wrestlers and whatever else, they obviously AEW is a somewhat newly founded company and whatever else. I love how they've just been thrown into the deep end on a good sense.
Yeah.
Where it took forever for WWE girls to get a no disqualification match, a Hell in a Cell match, and all this stuff. You look at it now, AEW, and even Impact, like with what Mickey and that other chick did a couple of weeks
how
ago.
good was that?
The freedom is just awesome. So I love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I thought it made sense. Adam's come in and saying, what a shooting star press from her move of the night. Absolutely. And Donald Quizman, women's matches were mid. That's a pretty funny comment. I get that. That's good. That's a good comment. Good comment. No, I agree, Adam. The shooting star press was good. And I actually thought the women's matches weren't bad. The second one was just a character progression, which I'm about to comment on that. I loved what they did with Serena, which I'll get to in a moment. But Jade Cargill, she's there to elevate the title. It makes sense. She was, it just made sense. we'll go into our next backstage segment. We found Bucks and Adam Cole again. So again, they're backstage talking. They discuss the match that's coming up on Rampage, and they also take umbrage to Jay White randomly showing up. They weren't too happy with that. They were more or less surprised. Cole says they have been Bullet Club for life and that they should be trusting Jay White. And then Cole says he has something to say, but then he just leaves. But he looks like he's leaving with a purpose, and we don't know why. He's looking like he's getting ready to go do something. Find out a little bit later. It's nothing too big, but it's a subtle thing to tease what's going to happen in the future. We move on to...
Do we know what's happening in the future, though?
Well, we have a hint now. He will pretty much confirm for you. What happens at the end of the show, basically, pretty much hints what's going to happen or who's going to be the next, let's say, challenger. Next match is the one I was referring to with Serena. It's another women's match, which good to see them getting some spotlight. Back-to-back women's matches. That's kind of cool, actually. They've been getting better. I was heavily critical of AEW's women's division when they first started. Gosh, have they improved. And there's the possibility of Ember Moon coming into the company as well. That's definitely going to happen. So we got Serena Deeb. She is in the ring, and she talks about beating Sky Blue. She says no one in the back is on her level. Shane, you obviously... I'm hoping you remember who Serena Deeb is. Obviously, straight edge society vibes here. She's kind of getting a bit of a push now in AEW, which is really, really cool. She says nobody can last 5 minutes with her in the ring, so she creates what's called the 5-minute rookie challenge. This is to see if any rookie can last 5 minutes in a match with her. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. She has a match with somebody, timer appears on the screen, kind of like beat the clock. You've just got to beat her within 5 minutes, or I guess last longer than 5 minutes. Serena dismantles her opponent, Katie Arquette, inside of 1 minute, which character progression made sense. She's going to beat up all these rookies. There's going to be some rookie that shows up that is going to do it, and then they're going to get a push. So I really like the progression here of the character, and I think it makes sense. Shane, any thoughts on that? Obviously, Serena, you'll probably remember her from her WWE days. Not that she did much.
I do. The bald-headed
yes,
Serena. That was
bald-headed.
I could only imagine
yes.
the reunion that CM Punk and her would have had backstage. So that's pretty cool. But
Absolutely.
Other than that, beat that clock.
Beat the clock.
Leave me alone. Beat the clock challenges. I always seem to like them when they did them. With the whole thing on the countdown on the screen and whatever else. I seem to like them, and for it to be done in 1 minute or under 1 minute, sorry, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, it wasn't a typical beat the clock where other people have to beat it, but she's going to be doing it every week. It's going to lead to something. Someone's eventually going to beat her. Adam, into the chat, it was good to see back-to-back women's matches. You don't see that in WWE. No, you don't. And you see them for... Okay, I know this match was a minute, but that's not every week. WWE, you barely get 2 minutes out of a normal match.
You got a pay-per-view. You got a pay-per-view that was just all women.
Yeah, I remember that, actually.
Young Classic or whatever it was?
That was the tournament. It was Evolution, I think it was called. Evolution? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Revolution,
Something like that. Evolution or Revolution, I don't know. Sam, your thoughts on Serena Deeb?
So all I have written down here is Serena Deeb reminds me of, if anyone knows PWA in Sydney, PWA Black Label, there's a girl on there called Jessica Troy, and she reminds me of her. She's the arm collector. She's my most hated
Samantha's favourite.
Come
on.
Serena Deeb is Jessica Troy, and she looks like her, and she reminds me of her. She acts like her, so I don't like her. Sorry, Nick.
Really? You think she acts like her?
Yeah,
I just think
she has that vibe of her. I don't know, just like tries to act cute and innocent, but like is sarcastic and annoying.
This means Serena Deeb is going to be champion soon, because Jessica Troy, Sam hates the shit out of her. She's the best thing going in PWA at the moment.
Probably.
Next time you go to one of those shows, Sam, I want you to send us all a video.
I need video reactions. Yeah.
Of Jessica Troy.
Yeah, please. That'd be awesome.
It's a good comparison, Sam. I like the comparison. Interesting one. All right, we'll move on to what happened next. And when I get to it, well, next is the main event of the evening, which I was super worried about the main event of the evening. There was about 15 minutes to go. I'm like, what the hell? They're not going to give these, like, either of them time. But what does AEW do? They start the match backstage. They save the time for the entrances. They don't waste another 5 minutes of entrances. We know it's a Texas death match, which, if you didn't know, you can only win by knockout, which isn't your... Like, it's not the referee just saying it's over. He's got to do a 10 count. So it's basically last man standing match, adding the submission factor on top of it, which is a great idea. They started backstage. We had Roberts announce that this is a main event. Then we went straight to backstage. I have a lot of notes on this, so we're going to go through it. We'll get everybody's opinions at the end of it, because a lot happened. This was some incredible stuff.
Grab a pillow, guys.
I really enjoyed it. Grab a pillow, because this is going to be a good story. We have a Texas death match. So Archer's music hits. We cut straight to backstage, and Adam Page and Archer are brawling. They eventually brawl all the way to the stage, where Page throws Archer through a glass barricade thing. They kind of covered the entrance ramp oval thingy that they walk out of with some glass thing. It was really cool. They had a cool camera angle behind it. This busted Lance Archer in the forehead. I don't think the actual impact did. We know how he actually got busted, but he got busted open. Cool little spot. I thought that made sense. Whichever way it was done, they went at it early. This set the tone for the rest of the match. Page now tosses Archer into the ring once they got down closer to the ring, and he hits him with the buckshot lariat. Archer gets up at 9 on the outside of the ring to save himself from losing the match. It was never going to lose within 1 minute, a couple of minutes of the match starting. Page goes for a suicide dive, but he gets smacked over the head. You know, you got your typical spot. Archer's on the outside. He grabs a trash can lid from under the ring. We're not supposed to see it. They stuffed up the camera angle. We saw it in advance. It was still a cool spot. Jumps out, suicide dive, whacks him in the head. Yes, they're allowing headshots, thankfully, as long as they're relatively safe. That was the cool spot. We had Dan Lambert come out to the ring. Samantha's favorite, Dan Lambert, shows up on the apron. He starts removing the top turnbuckle ring, like, you know, the metal part that you undo to take the top rope off. He starts undoing that in an attempt, obviously, to stuff up Page. We know his finishing move. More on that in a minute. Archer and Page battle into the AEW crowd. No, I'm not going to say universe. The AEW crowd. Page jumps up on a barricade, hits an awesome moonsault back onto Archer. The crowd goes wild. Page rolls Archer back into the ring. This is where he notices the entire top rope is gone. The whole top rope is missing. It's been ripped off by Dan Lambert. This makes the buckshot lariat, Page's finishing move, completely useless because he springboards off the top rope to do it. This plays into the finish of the match, which was brilliant storytelling. Very, very smart. Archer uses the hook. So the turnbuckle, when you take them off, they've obviously got a hook on the end, an actual hook. This was actually in picture on the commercial break, but if you watch on Flight TV, you can watch the whole thing. He literally puts the hook in Page's eye and rips at it. When we come back from commercial, he's got blood all over his eye. Obviously, the cut is above the eye, but it was still a cool idea. They went with the cut around the eye. Really cool thing. They didn't go too over the top with, obviously, the hook thing, because they didn't actually show it. They came back from commercial, and then that's when he had the blood on his eyes. That was really cool. It looked brutal. It made it look very, very brutal. When we did come back from commercial, officially, both men were on the apron, trading punches. You know the drill. There's some tables set up behind them. 2 tables. You've got 1 table in front, 1 table behind. Your typical table spot. They end up getting back in the ring, so nobody goes through the tables at the time. Archer removes the floor padding from the outside of the ring, so you know where to expose the concrete. Or the cement, I should say, whatever, same shit. As this happens, so Jake Roberts was ringside. Jake the Snake was at ringside. He hits Adam Page with a short arm clothesline. The crowd popped heavy for this. That was a cheap pop there from Jake. Get it? That was a cheap pop. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, God.
Then the crowd started chanting DDT. He went for the DDT, didn't hit it because Lance Archer stopped him. I guess he didn't want him to take the spotlight or something like that. He turns around and then Page hits Archer with a DDT. Wasn't on the concrete. It was slightly on the padding, but yeah, it was still a pretty cool spot. In the ring now, Page has a kendo stick and he smacks Archer quite a few times. One brutally hit him on the head as well. Actually, it was a pretty full-on shot. Archer, so Page goes for a hit with the kendo stick. You know how they put their arm underneath. He grabs the kendo stick to stop him from hitting him. He breaks the kendo stick on his leg, to show that he's a big beast, that kind of thing. Your typical kendo stick break on the knee. He then chokeslams Page into a trash can, completely squashes the trash can in basically right through it. Archer then, I don't know where he got this from, but he grabbed a fork, an actual fork that you eat food with. He grabbed the fork and started poking it in the forehead of Page. Yes, one of those. And he did exactly that. He poked it into his head. He had the blood on it, and he started licking the fork with blood on it. That was a cool moment. It was gross, but
Fucking weirdo.
pretty brutal moment. Page rolls to the outside. Archer tosses 4 chairs into the ring. 4 chairs. I think it was 4. And then the 5th one had barbed wire on it. The 5th chair had barbed wire. Page eventually, I think... Oh, actually, no, we're missing a spot here. This was the most brutal spot I've seen all year from anybody on any show, in my opinion. I think it was the most... Oh, I keep forgetting the year's only a month old. Probably even more than last year. This was one of the most brutal things I've seen. It was very dangerous. Archer grabs... So, Archer has a move called the Blackout. He basically lifts the opponent up in front of him and then flips them over. Like, it's kind of hard to explain, but he basically flips them up into kind of like an inverted Alabama slam, sort of. It's very hard to sort of describe, but it's like a power bomb. He's basically power bombed Archer, has power bombed Page onto the steel steps onto the outside. So, you know how the steel steps, they normally, in WWE, they'll have them flat, so you get power bombed onto the flat side where you step on. They had him turned on their side, and he went splat on the corner. The actual steel steps had a dent in them. It was the most stupendous spot I've seen AEW put on. Like, more brutal than the barbed wire that they went through. I forget what match it was. That other exploding death match. It was more brutal than that, I thought. That was scary stuff. One of the best spots, besides the Sammy Guevara thing, that probably should have ended the match, but it didn't. Page comes back into the ring eventually. You got Archer in the ring. Adam Page wraps the barbed wire around his arm. Yes, he wraps the barbed wire around his arm. I can already imagine how much that hurts. He starts hitting Archer with some punches and some short arm clotheslines with the barbed wire on his arm. And then this is where things get really cool. So you remember earlier how I said they brought down the top rope to prevent him from hitting, Adam Page from hitting the buckshot lariat. He takes off the barbed wire. Archer's rolled out to the apron right in front of the 2 tables. Adam Page has taken off the barbed wire, put it on the ground. The referee has gone to pick it up, so he's bent over. Page has used the referee like a rope, jumped over, hit the buckshot lariat onto Archer, onto the outside, and like every double table spot, they missed the first table, hit the second table. They were supposed to go through both. This happens all the time when there's 2 tables. They always miss the first one. They go through the second table. Page gets up at 8, and that's it. Match is over. The obvious result, Page was never losing the title tonight. I think that was pretty obvious. I thought that was an excellent main event. One really, really cool main event. And I think with the time they had, they done it pretty well. I don't know what your stances are, both of you, in terms of death matches, a lot of blood, a lot of that sort of thing. I love the matches. Freaking that's wrestling. I miss that ECW vibe wrestling. I freaking love it. We'll start with you, Shane. What did you think of the death match?
Oh, I love death matches. They're so fun for me. It just it goes back to what I showed you guys a couple of weeks ago with the CZW
Yes.
promotion. They're all death matches. Every
Mhm.
fucking, like light tubes and all that
That's
shit,
full on.
tasers, bloody swords, and all that crap. So I managed to watch 7 minutes and 45 seconds of this before the podcast, and holy shit, God, there's a lot of blood, and oh my God, just that last 7 minutes was amazing. And I'll tell you what, that spot with the steel steps, people may think they're fake and they're made out of aluminium foil or whatever. God, they're real steps, guys.
They are.
They're proper steel, and that spot just shows you how real they are.
Yep.
Like, it flexed and went straight back into its position with the tiny, like a little bit of a dent, so it just goes to show you that they're actually real. The fork, oh my God, like
Smart
really?
spot. We obviously know how it's done,
Oh,
but
yeah,
it's
100%.
very smart spot.
100%, but oh my God, because I had to look twice. I didn't know where he got that from. I'm just like,
Might
yeah, I
be
don't
his
know where he got
trunks, I
that fork
forget.
from. But yeah, doing the William Regal with the brass knuckles vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, like for him to like have it in his head,
It was
kind
cool,
of thing,
yeah.
and then just melee him. I was like, oh,
Lick the
God,
fork.
it was crazy. But yeah. So the video that I watched, obviously, I'm guessing the last 7 minutes of the show or whatever. I came in when the ropes were down and all this. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? You know, it had to be a death match. So
Yeah.
that was an insane main event from what I seen. Really, really good way to end the show. And yeah, and even with what happened after the match was really good too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enjoyed
We'll
it. Very
get on
much
that.
so. Very much enjoyed.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a second. Sam, what did you think of the death match? I don't know. I'm actually really interested to see hear your thoughts
Here we go.
on a death
Here we
match.
go.
I don't know what your thoughts are on this kind of match. I'm really intrigued.
To be negative?
I don't know.
Probably.
No, like, to be honest, I agree with Shane. So I don't want to repeat everything that he said,
Yeah.
but it's just what you expect from a death match. Like, that's what you expect. That's what you get. Blood and gore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good match, but where's Lance going to go from here?
That is true.
Like, what's going to happen to him now?
Yeah.
That's all I could think about. I was just thinking, like, he's going to lose, and
Yeah.
where's he going to go?
He's kind of there just to fill in.
What's he going to do? Because he was the guy that came out and knocked people out. You know what I mean? Like, he's the knockout guy.
Yeah.
Knock people out. He's a beast, and I mean, he got beaten. Like, it wasn't an easy beat, but like, I don't know. I just don't know where you can go from here because what happened after is where Hangman Page is going to go. But where's Lance going to go?
Yeah, that's a very
Which is a
valid
thought.
point. Like, I really don't know what they're going to do with Lance Archer because it was good for Hangman. It looks good for him. It makes him look good. Gives him a big win as champion, which he needed. So I don't know where they're going to go. But we had a bit of an interesting thing. So now we know where Adam Cole was heading earlier in the night. Out of nowhere, Adam Cole comes to the ring, doesn't say a word. He grabs the AEW World Championship and simply puts it on Hangman's shoulder. This is a clear thing that Tony Khan has done to take a shot at everybody on Twitter, all the IWC people who were ripping off Adam Cole, saying that WWE booked him better. And don't get me wrong, his NXT run was excellent. I don't think he's had as good of a run yet, but I don't think they booked him shit, whereas the whole internet thinks he's being booked like a wimp. So for me, them rushing him into the title picture is a little bit of a shot at the fans, but it also does make sense as well. And I'm happy about it because he's like my favorite wrestler. As you can obviously tell, I'm wearing his shirt. So I'm happy with the way it ended. We're going to have Adam Cole versus Hangman Page. Don't know when. I don't know if they're going to do it at Revolution. I don't know if that's too soon. It looks obvious that it's going to happen. But where's Jay White going to fit into this? I don't know. Sam, your thoughts on Adam Cole? I haven't really asked you about your thoughts on him, actually, because you never really watched his NXT days.
Oh.
So I'd like to know.
Yeah, I think he'll be the next challenger at most likely like next month's Revolution.
Okay.
Yeah, I like him. What they're doing with him, with the Young Bucks, and imagine living their life. Like, imagine living their life. They get to hang out all the time. he looks like he's having a great time. He can only go up from here, in my opinion. Like they utilize him well. I think he's just getting to know everyone, and just he's hanging around the Young Bucks a lot. Maybe they'll do something all together, which they are at the moment, but like maybe that'll continue for a little bit longer. I don't know. Like even if he challenges for this, I don't think he'll win. I don't know. Like, do you think he'll win?
Not straight away, I don't think. No, I think they're going to give Page another big win. I don't know. This is tough to see. He could lose the match, and then something happens with Bullet Club. Like the whole, they've got the Bullet Club back together. This hasn't happened since they all left and went their own way 6 years ago, whenever it was. So there's a lot going on that could happen. Shane, did you catch much of Adam Cole on NXT?
I somewhat did, and thanks to Adam throughout the years to keep me updated on his career. I can agree with everything that Sam said, actually, except for one thing, that I think that Adam, if he has a run for the title, I think he might win it straight away.
Maybe.
Only because he's a he's a big name in the company, and I think everyone wants to see him do well and whatever else. So I reckon that he is going to have a really big push very shortly, which will lead him to winning the AEW title. So I reckon it will end up being better for him as well.
Yeah.
And some of the people that he could face while having the title, like obviously some of the people that he can face now are what we said earlier, dream matches and all that stuff. I think if Adam had a run with the title, big dream matches coming up, and we can only hope that, well, for my end anyway, I can only hope that could be possible very shortly at the next pay-per-view. Yeah,
well, Adam, in the comments, Adam has just come up with a good idea and something I didn't think of. We've got Kenny Omega to come back and be thrown into the mix here. This is huge. Kenny Omega, Bullet Club, all of that. Adam Cole coming in and now starting to take over and partnering with the Young Bucks. Where's he going to come into it? There's a lot to happen. There's so many scenarios, and that's the beauty of AEW right now. We don't know what's going to happen. We've got Adam versus Adam. At Revolution, it's looking like Page versus Cole. We've got Kenny Omega still to come in. We have so much stuff happening, and I'm really excited to be able to review it all with everybody as well. And Adam's given us a great idea. How does everybody rate this show out of 10 today? Shano, we'll start with you. Your rating and your thoughts on it.
Well, with what I've seen in the last match, and only the last match.
Yeah, fair enough.
And from what you've read, from what you've said today, probably a solid 8, I'd say. It's just the way that... fucking hell. Just the way that... I'm sorry, guys. Hang on.
That's all right. All good.
Oh, Jesus. The way that everything sort of planned out for the show, the matches as well, had a good spot in each part of the show, which makes good, like a really, really good show for that. I think that's the reason why the Royal Rumble wasn't as good as what it was, is because some of the matches were just in the wrong spot. But for these matches, very, very good. The promos are obviously really awesome as well. Again, from limited time of watching it, a solid 8, maybe even an 8.5, maybe 9, possibly.
Alrighty, yeah, very good. Sam,
give us a call.
Rating and why?
For this show, I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Ooh.
And why? Because the storytelling from the start to the end of the show was like no other. Like, as in, every match pretty much had a story. And that's what I like about AEW. So I can't give it anything less. I missed out on half a point because of the Jessica Troy lookalike. The Hager being there when, like, what's his point? And Wardlow at the start. That's the half a point. I missed out on half a point. I think that's it.
Okay.
I think that's cool.
Fair enough. Well, I named the title of the video, or of the stream and the video, AEW Dynamite was perfect. In my opinion, it's a solid 10, and I probably won't give any 10s anymore to any show this year. There was maybe one show last year, AEW-wise, that I thought was a 10. I don't even remember which one it was. There were a couple. They always put on a pretty good show, but to get a 10, to me, they progressed storylines really, really well. I thought the women's stuff made sense. Obviously, you could have had a big title match that went 15 minutes, but it's a TV program. You can't expect them to fit everything in there. Yeah, it's a rare 10 that I'm going to give AEW. Probably more so as well because I do like Santana Ortiz, like that I actually like them, that kind of thing. So I can understand Sam taking some points off from those people because there are going to be people there that people don't like, if you know what I mean. Like, if there was maybe somebody on the show that I didn't like so much that I don't think deserved a spot, maybe I wouldn't rate it a 10 either. So 100% can understand that. But yeah, big old 10 for me. Really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do in the next few weeks. And I'm certain we'll be here reviewing it again because it's the best show of the week. And we all know that for a fact. We might even review Rampage this week. That's how much I really don't care about reviewing WWE, at least for this week alone. But we'll probably do a double review on Saturday, maybe, if we can get some time. We'll see what happens come Saturday. Thank you so much to my awesome two special guests who I'm not even going to call them guests anymore. They're going to be regulars all the time, as much as we certainly can. Thank you, Shane and Samantha, for joining me. Much, much appreciated.
Our pleasure, mate. Our pleasure. For those of you who don't know, I have COVID, so that's for the reason of the coughing and whatever else. But whenever there's a podcast and a microphone in my face, I have to do it.
That's all right. We thank you for coming in whilst you do have COVID as well. So we do hope you recover very well and very quickly as well. Sam, thank you as well for tuning in.
Cartwheels tomorrow, trust me.
That's
Nick,
the spirit.
thanks for having me. Shane, always a pleasure.
No worries at all. You can
Until next time.
We can follow everybody on Twitter. Again, all the handles are on the screen at RealSammyMadge, at SplashyWindow92, and you can follow us here on the Cheap Pop at The Real Cheap Pop on Twitter. Pop us a follow on there. We'll be tweeting when we go out and we go live all the time. Adam, Donald, everybody else that's tuned in, thank you so much for all your comments. It's always appreciated. We do appreciate everything that you guys do, and we're happy to keep this going so everybody can obviously get their weekly fix on pro wrestling and also our opinions on it all. We'll leave it at that, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to episode number 5. We probably will see you here on Saturday. But yeah, until next time, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.